Hey, everybody, it's Allie Cox, and welcome back to my podcast, the Farm to Fame podcast. I have an awesome guest here today, a woman that I have admired for years and years. This is Katie Manetti, and she's going to tell us a little bit more. She's going to tell us a lot about her career in marketing that is very adjacent to what I've been doing, and I always love my incredible conversations with her. So, Katie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
For sure. I think we have a lot of fun things in common. But I think my favorite thing in common is the whole farmer's daughter situation, right? Like that's something that I think we immediately bonded over. And I learned a lot about pears, more than I'd ever known about pears when I think I met your dad at an event. So shout out to him. But yeah, I mean, Katie, can you just tell a little bit about your background and kind of what you've been working on? I know everybody definitely wants to hear about the work that you do on the commission boards as well.
Absolutely. So I grew up on the Sacramento Delta. My brother and I are the sixth generation on our family's pear ranch. It has been an awesome experience to grow up on a pear ranch, hanging out in the fields, driving tractors and forklifts. So it was very easy life to grow up in. And when you're younger, you don't appreciate it much. But as an adult, I've come to appreciate the hard work that my family has put into this ranch for many moons. Mm-hmm. Grew up working on the ranch and then also in packing sheds and canneries. So I learned every aspect of, farming from the ground to the can to the store shelf. I went to school to be in the medical industry and came back to produce because, of course, it's
because of course you did. I think we both had a full circle moment for sure. Amazing. I don't know. Have I told you that I was the manifester on our family's melon dock for like 3 years, and I was actually a union worker?
Oh, that's awesome. I had no idea.
I know how to pack a reefer and how it's different from a container. So, I mean, there's always that for sure. Now, just as a reminder, has your family mostly always grown Cannery pears?
We do some fresh market and some Cannery. So, there's a need for both, and different years require different juggling of how you go to market. So yeah, we've handled both fresh market and Cannery.
Amazing. And how is that different from, if you could just explain that to everybody, and kind of what is that impact? How does that benefit the farm, like your family, for example, like having both options?
Well, I think the big thing on the fresh market is different specifications for how you're growing, what size and what varieties you grow. Mm-hmm. So the Cannery has a specific utility pear. It is probably like the Red Delicious of the apple industry. It has its place. It's the Bartlett pear. And that is taken to Cannery. So that goes into any fruit cocktail you get, any fancy pack. So there's different different varieties that you'll grow for different uses. We grow also red Bartletts, Stark Crimsons, Bosque, Todd, and Camise pears, just because those are more desirable for fresh market.
See, even things like this, of course, I've heard of them, but I couldn't pick them out. But I think that I have a hot take on variety marketing.
Yeah,
I do. I would love to know if your thoughts on consumer education, understanding varieties, or is that really just an ag thing that we just need to have insider insights?
Well, I think that's part of the challenge within the farming industry is we're not very good at telling our stories. Mm-hmm. And sharing with the consumer how to utilize different varieties of fruit. Yeah. And so I think sometimes people will have maybe the Red Delicious of the apple industry, and they'll say, well, that wasn't really my favorite. Mm-hmm. But then they get introduced to something like a Cosmic Crisp or one of the new varieties, and they're in love. And so I think it's about trying, and we need to talk to people about the different aspects of each variety and how they can be used. One might be used better as baking, and one might be used better as a snack.
Right. Yeah. I think that's so interesting. I also think it's interesting how internationally, I mean, I know you know a ton about this, like internationally, how food marketing is different. Like I remember like being in a meeting with one of our almond clients, and they had buyers in from I think Korea and Japan, and they knew they were marketing the varieties on their candies and on their confections and all the rest of it. And I just think it's fascinating how even like quote unquote foodies here don't have any clue. Like the amount of like it's almost like dinner party talk, like Allie, tell us what we don't know. And I feel like that's like the most interesting thing is like full blown foodies don't know this here. And that's where I'm like, I just think that we're not there yet, you guys. Like we're just not there yet. And how we're gonna get there. But okay, let me just segue for a minute because I want to spend a lot of time here talking. You mentioned reaching consumers. I would love it if you could talk a little bit about the work you've done on the commission boards with the National Watermelon Promotion Board, the California Strawberries, the Mango Board, and like how that is such a vital part of the whole food marketing ecosystem. I would love it because it's a conduit between farmers and consumers in a really interesting way.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think a lot of times as a consumer, we have so much thrown at us. We walk into a grocery store and it's just all the sights and the smells and the colors. And so we're very excited, but also we don't know where to start. So, I mean, if I talk back to my time with the mango industry, the National Mango Board, one of our big challenges was mangoes were, and I believe still are, the #1 fruit in the world. But in the States, many people had no idea on how to select a mango, how to cut a mango, what you even do with a mango. So we started and we went out and started talking at the store level with buyers and asking them how their mango sales were going. And many of the store buyers aren't even aware of a lot of the different varietals. So we started there with teaching them about the red varieties, the yellow varieties, and the green varieties. And then went out and further from that, started educating the produce managers within the stores so that they could be armed with information on talking to their customer about how to choose a ripe mango, what variety is a tasty mango, what can they do with them, how to cut them. And so it's just all about education and reaching the consumer with where they're at. And it really is that trickle down when you start with the buyer at the corporate office and then getting down to the store level. I've also worked with a lot of nutritionists. So the registered dietitians within the stores, a lot of grocery chains employ folks to go out and share the health benefits. And a lot of people do choose produce based on what health benefits are there. So we do a lot of work, or I do a lot of work within the commodity board world, sharing that information so that gets out. There's a lot of misnomers, and so you have to arm them and tell the story and make sure that they're coming away with the right information.
And Katie, how does like a mango brand and the commission board, how do they work together? Or like, because obviously there's fiscal realities of like being a farmer and like having your own brand and being a producer. Can you share a little bit about how how they can complement each other and or how things can go wrong? I mean, I would just love to kind of like dive into that.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're working with a commodity, you are Switzerland. Every brand is the same in your book.
Okay.
You don't have any preferential treatment, not for growers, not for brands. So say if it's a melon, every watermelon is treated the same. And with the watermelon board, we represent watermelon that is grown in the States and then also watermelon that's brought in to the States.
Oh, interesting.
So we want to make sure that we're representing everything equally. So it's equal love. And growers pay an assessment into a commodity board or a commission. So we are working at the pleasure of the grower.
Mm-hmm.
Truly, we are working for them, and we are telling their story. We are doing the marketing for them so that they are not having to do duplicate efforts at the farm, because they're really focused on bringing you a quality product, and that takes a lot of time, effort, and love.
Mm-hmm.
So it's our job to go out and do the marketing piece for them.
Mm-hmm. And do you have any like kind of examples or, could you share like what sort of so thanks for sharing on the retail side. That makes a lot of sense. I was wondering if you could kind of dive into a little bit of like the consumer, direct to consumer. I do know that you've led like social media campaigns and ad buys and whatnot. And I'd love if you could kind of share a little bit about how and why, like, especially like as consumers, what we can look for.
Yeah, when you're talking about what you could look for, what piece of that are you?
Like a lot of the work that we've done at Noble West is really about, obviously we do commodity board work and we enjoy it. Especially like campaign work when you're trying to create a very broad but impactful campaign and strategy. Like for example, right now we're working with I have to say the Idaho Eastern Oregon onion. There's a lot. It's like seven words in a row, and I have to like think about it every time. The onion, and it's really about like how do we make sure that like this growing region is highly like differentiated from say another big like growing region, which is like Georgia, or the biggest, which is Mexico, right? And like so how do we really create more value around like the product that's grown in this region? And so, which is unifying, of course. I mean, you and I know this better than anyone. Like, there's lots of big opinions for producers, right?
100%.
Lots of them. So, like, creating alignment around that is probably the biggest challenge that we have in doing that. Not everybody's going to like the same thing, and it's okay. But alignment and proof points and data and all the things that we do to sell this artwork and all the rest of it. But we don't do a lot of direct to consumer with this client, for example. But in the past, I have worked on clients where we are doing direct to consumer because that is a strategy of the promotions company, right? I think probably the most successful. I mean, the California. I mean, I think Got Milk is. I mean, that was award winning for decades, right?
Yes.
But that's so what we are definitely like a call to action, I guess is the best way to say, a CTA that we have with a lot of our clients who are in the commodity space where we are doing direct to consumer is on social media, is like follow us for tips, follow us for recipes, follow us to learn more, and then we're spotlighting different members and whatnot, right? And I'm just curious, like as far as like especially with like, you really are working with like the best fruit salad situation, watermelons, mango, strawberries, and I know you've worked with more. But like, are there any like kind of like standout campaigns where you're like, that was great, and we feel super proud of like moving the needle for the farmers?
Absolutely. So I think, for the California Strawberry Commission, we are working very hard to talk about the reputation of the growers and what they do, how they work, how they are very very easy on our environment, the kind and care that goes into the communities. So we are really working hard on all of that. If you follow along on California Strawberry Commission campaign, you'll see where we talk about the women farmers that we support. We talk about our water usage. We talk about the soft pest programs that we use. We use vacuums that actually go into fields and suck up bugs. So, I mean, that's pretty cool. Where else do you see something like that happening? So a lot of that story is talking about the reputation of the industry. And that's different because some commodity boards are focused solely on building demand. And you need to do that in some aspects. But when you're talking about an industry where the demand is already high, you want to make sure you're highlighting what goes into the product on the other side.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. For sure. Yeah, for sure. And I'm curious, like Katie, I'm just thinking like we worked with the California Bean Board for a bean advisory board for 12 years. And you're right, the goal there was to create demand. That was the overarching goal because it had been like, different cycles. Who's kind of sets the agenda of the board? Like what we're going to focus on.
Yeah, yeah. So the agenda of the board is usually set by board members, and boards at different times, different commodity boards, but most of the majority of them are based on off of growers that sit on the board. We have shippers and packers that are on the board, and in some cases there's processors. So, those are the folks that are actual boots on the ground, and they are the ones that dictate, hey, this is what we need. This is what we're challenges that we're facing right now. How do we tackle those challenges within the industry and share the story about what we're facing to the consumer so that they understand. And I think that a lot of people just don't understand how that works. So very much so, it's built by the growers themselves, since they are the ones also funding the campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the campaigns are, production research. They are doing workforce training. We are doing nutritional education. We fund studies with universities. So, I mean, it's not just something that we throw on the wall and see what sticks. It's a lot of very detailed work that goes into all of this.
For sure. And do you think that I think that probably a lot of the work you've done is sort of driven by the promotional committee, right? People
Sure.
would raise their hand to go on the promotions committee. Do you think that there is, is that a place where who is a great promotions committee member? I guess is like the question is like, who do you think should be on those committees? I mean, in the past, I know that I've been on trying to get work through with promotion committee members, and they're like, I should really have my daughter on this. I'm like, great, but is your daughter going to make your decision? Are you is your daughter like allowed to make decisions on your behalf? If so, wonderful. But who are like kind of the members who really are sort of setting sort of the marketing strategy for that?
I think that it really is necessary to have a wide variety of people, because if you have one type of person just coming in, you're going to be in a room full of folks singing from the same hymn book. You need to have different folks to collaborate and maybe challenge one another on what the important pieces are. So I think a really dynamic mix of folks is necessary to have the most successful board.
Yeah, for sure. Amazing. Katie, I love this. Thank you so much. There's I could literally just keep asking questions all day long. If somebody wants to kind of follow along and learn more about the work that you do with your team and with your clients and where would be a great place for them to follow?
I think ultimately go to check out who is behind all of your products that you enjoy and follow their campaigns. So hop on to the Got Milks of the world, hop on to the National Watermelon Promotion Boards of the world, follow those folks, and that's where you're going to get the truth from, and that's where you're going to get the real information.
Yeah. Well, I also love that we're talking about fruits that are in season right now. So now is the time. Shop up, freeze, do all the things. Well, amazing. Thanks, Katie. This has been so fun. And I appreciate you and just am so inspired by all the work you're doing.
Thank you. Likewise.
Okay. Awesome.